have an image?
No, because this whole pack of different screws is named GHIJ.
Okay.
You're dead.
Sorry, I'm getting my freaking stream set up.
Sorry.
Okay, they went on their
Sorry.
date and they were at the table and they were like he was like teaching him how to do calligraphy, and then Hua Cheng was like teasing him and like doing it wrong, and then Shilian was like you had to do it right, and then they were holding hands, and then Shilian looked to the edge of the altar because they were in Thousand Lights Temple, and there was
Mm-hmm.
a little flower in the altar. The last line was, "At the corner of the jade altar table sat a tiny, lonesome flower." And now we're on chapter 46.
Hey.
A far gone memory surfaced in Shilian's mind, and he was momentarily stunned. It was like a dust covered picture, but when he tried to wipe it clean, it remained blurry. Unspeaking, he frowned and loosened his grasp to pick up that flower. Hua Cheng put down his brush as well and slowly began to grind some ink. "What's wrong?" Shilian smiled. "Nothing, just this flower scent is refreshing. I've always liked this sort." Offerings of flowers in temples and palaces were far from rare. However, most devotees offered large, fresh, bountiful bouquets of bright red or purple blossoms, or handcrafted imitation flowers that never wilted. After a pause, Shilian said, "Could this be the flower which Crimson Rain sought?" Hua Cheng smiled. "Gaga has such good, godly premonitions." As they laughed, the pair finally completed a set of compositions together. The subject was still those 4 lines of verse. Hua Cheng picked it up to admire, looking most pleased. Excellent. Frame it." Hearing him say excellent, Shilian made a confused noise. When he heard frame it, he made the same confused noise again. "You're not thinking of hanging it on the wall, are you?" If Shilian's deceased teachers ever discovered his involvement in such a set of compositions, they'd probably rise from the dead out of sheer rage. However, Hua Cheng only laughed. "No, I'm keeping it for myself. I'm not showing this to anyone." Just then they heard faint screaming from outside. "Fire! Fire! Paradise Manor is on fire!" The interior of the main hall of Thousand Lights Temple was exceedingly quiet, and since they both possessed better than average senses, the moment they heard, they instantly looked at each other. "Paradise Manor again?" Julien blurted out, the words leaving his lips before he realized it was silly to say again. Unruffled and unhurried, Hua Cheng stowed away the compositions. "No need to worry, Guga. Just sit here and relax. I'll be back shortly." As if Shilian could sit back and relax. "I'll come with you," he said as he hastily followed, feeling rueful as he thought, "How come Paradise Manor gets set on fire every time I visit?" That God of Misfortune title of his was about to be proven true once again, although this time the fire had nothing to do with Shilian. Being sorry for things was by now a habit of his. They hurried back to Paradise Manor, and on the way the main street was laden with smoke and jammed with little ghosts and monsters frantically running back and forth with buckets of water. When they saw Hua Cheng and Shilian approach, they all called out, "Cheng Zi! Don't worry, your old lordship. The fire ain't big, it's already out." Hua Cheng gave no reaction, but Shilian let out a breath of relief. "Thank goodness. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work." Shilian gently praised them. The
Oh, Paul's calling me.
Oh my god. Let's go on pause
Hold
here.
on. Oh, Hello?
Hello? Surprised you
Did
were.
you hear that?
No, you were muted.
Oh.
What the fuck happened? What?
He calls and he says, Happy birthday. I'm like, Thanks. And he's like, What are you doing? I said that I was building a shelf.
Haha.
He said, Oh, well, when are you hanging out with your friend? And I was like, Well, we had to reschedule for Friday. And then he started swearing about his neighbor, and where he parked, where his neighbor's stupid son parked.
Great. Great. Great call, guys.
And then yeah, and then he's like, oh well, your coworkers got you a cake, and I was like, yeah, they got me some gifts too, and they're like, oh, that's nice. And I'm like, yeah. He says, well, are you excited for presents? And I was like, I guess. And he's like, well, do you want to come over tonight? And I was like, no, I think I'm kind of fine right now. I can't get this screw in. And she's like, okay, well, just checking in. Did your brothers wish you a happy birthday? And I was like, William did. Nick, I haven't heard from. And he's like, well, if he doesn't, bust his balls. And I was like, okay, it's whatever.
Says the dad who forgot when your birthday was. What the fuck?
And he says, well, it's not whatever to me. I like birthdays, especially yours. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so you say, Mr. I forget it.
Literally. So, that was that.
My god, that's insane. That was an insane line. I like birthdays, especially yours. Like, what does that mean?
You can tell that he got like he probably feels guilty for fucking
Yeah, literally.
That's literally what it is, but the thing is he won't admit it.
Yeah.
He'll never admit it.
And
he'll never apologize for it. I can't get this screw in and I'm gonna fucking kill someone.
Whoa. Is it like not turning with the screw or with the screwdriver?
It's just going in circles.
Oh. Maybe it's
I'm
the wrong
sweating.
screw. I
Like
don't know.
Whore.
Whoa, like a slut. It looks like a little bench for like, I don't know, gnomes.
It does. This is the top.
Nice.
The bench for gnomes.
Okay, I'm gonna read.
Yes, go ahead.
I gotta open Kindle again. Okay. Thank goodness. Thank you everyone for your hard work, Shilian gently praised them. The little ghosts hadn't expected any kind of gratitude at all, not to mention that the thanks for your hard work came from Chungzu's friend. They became quite excited indeed. Not hard, it's nothing major. It's our duty. Only then did Shilian realize that his show of gratitude was rather inappropriate, as he wasn't the master of this establishment. However, since Hua Chung didn't say anything, it probably wasn't too horrible that Shilian took initiative to do so. He briefly reprimanded himself mentally, then stopped worrying about it. Shilian and Hua Chung entered Paradise Manor to inspect the spot where the fire had started. Sure enough, it was only a small area, confined to a corner of an insignificant house in the larger complex. No wonder the flames had been extinguished so quickly. However, once this was confirmed, Shilian became alarmed. He turned to Hua Chung. The arsonist wasn't playing some harebrained prank. This didn't come from a random desire to torch something. It looks more like a ploy to divert someone's attention. But if that was the case, what was the purpose of the distraction? Shilian came to a startling realization. The fetus spirit. When they left Paradise Manor, the wails and cries of the fetus spirit were audible from even far away. The sound of its weeping was sharp, and its yowls for "Mom!" clear, but now that voice was gone. The pair rushed to a side chamber outside the main hall of Paradise Manor to check. When they first left, Hua Chung had casually placed the clay pot containing the fetus spirit on a table. The pot still sat there, but when Shilian picked it up, he immediately sensed the difference in weight. It was too light. When he opened it, sure enough, there was nothing inside. Something locked within the clay pot could not possibly have broken the seal over the opening. Shilian immediately determined, Someone let the fetus spirit loose. Hua Cheng, however, didn't look the least bit fussed. It was indeed stolen. The butterflies badly wounded the thing. It couldn't get far on its own. Then that's easily taken care of, Shilian said. San Lang. Oh my god, Scout just barked so loud. San Lang, does your Paradise Manor have guards patrolling the premises? Ask if they saw anyone suspicious. No guards, Hua Cheng said. Shilian blinked. None? Mm-hmm. There have never been any, Hua Cheng replied. No wonder Shilian had seen no guards when he snuck around Paradise Manor last time. He'd thought he didn't see them because they were well hidden, but he hadn't realized that there weren't any at all. Slightly stunned, he asked, You're that lax regarding Paradise Manor? Guga, have you ever paid attention to the doors? Hua Cheng asked. Shilian thought about it. No, I haven't. Could it be there's something extraordinary about them? Correct, Hua Cheng pointed at the set of doors to the side chamber. If one is not the master of this establishment, one were to steal even a single item that didn't belong to them, they would be trapped inside the room and unable to open its doors. Shilian remembered that the last time he'd come to Paradise Manor, he had always opened doors with dice, and when he'd finally left, it had been through the whirlwind created by the Windmaster, raising the roof and thus avoiding any doors. Those were all images of violence, and the more Shilian recalled, the more he thought he should stop thinking, feeling slightly ashamed. After a brief pause, he asked, Then say that San Lang were to steal a spiritual weapon from me and keep it within Paradise Manor. Since I was the original owner of the weapon, could I not take it away? Hua Cheng arched his brows. Of course not. Once it's in my hands...
He arched his back?
His brows, you bitch. Hua Cheng arched his brows. Of course not. Once it's in my hands, it's mine. But don't wrong me so, Guga. I would never steal any of your spiritual weapons. Shilian cleared his throat. Of course, I knew that. That's why I said if. Besides, I don't really have any spiritual weapons worth stealing anyway. Hua Cheng's jokes ended there. He smiled, then continued. So it's impossible to steal something from me without my notice, which is why there is, of course, no need for guards. Shilian's first instinct was that whoever had stolen the fetus spirit hadn't left through the doors and had employed a different method, but looking around, the side chamber's roof was undamaged, the floors looked pristine, and the walls were in fine shape too. There was no trace of a break-in. He couldn't help but come up with a more skin-crawling thought. What if the one who stole the fetus spirit hasn't left and is still within the side chamber? Although there was nowhere in the side chamber to hide, there were plenty of ways to turn invisible. Maybe the thief was near them at this very moment, quietly watching their every move. Shilian peered around, watchful for any abnormal movement in the air. However, his eyes and instincts both told him that neither a third person nor a ghost were present. Perhaps he would have to peruse a different line of thought. Just then, Hua Cheng chuckled. There's no need for Guga to be concerned. I have my way of finding our fetus spirit thief. Hua Cheng truly looked like he had a plan. Shilian turned to him, and after a brief moment to consider the matter, he was suddenly enlightened as well. They waited in silence, and their wait was short. The sound of commotion closed in, and soon a large group of nefarious creatures swarmed outside the chamber like a flock of squawking birds. Chengzi, what does your old lordship desire, calling us over? This crowd was close to 1,000 at minimum. Had it not been for the large courtyard and architecture of Paradise Manor, they might not have fit. The one who had brought them was the masked man, and he reported the situation to Hua Cheng. Chengzi, everyone who appeared on the streets today should be here. Ghost City is locked down. No one can leave. It was the voice of that young man from last time. Shilian couldn't help but steal a glance at him. The ghosts cried, Chengzi! Was the one who set the fire caught? They're saying something was stolen? They're tired of living or want to die again or what? So insolent, setting fires and stealing shit. They dare mess with Chengzi's authority. There's no way Chengzi will let them go. Although the crowd of ghosts wasn't talking about Shilian, as one who had set this same building on fire, kidnapped someone, and subsequently been let go by Hua Cheng, Shilian felt like he'd been shot by countless arrows. He softly cleared his throat, feeling increasingly guilty. He stole a glance at Hua Cheng, but coincidentally met his eye as Hua Cheng also glanced over with an unreadable look. Shilian immediately averted his gaze. He heard Hua Cheng say flatly, The one who stole the fetus spirit can come forward now. Don't waste my time. The crowd was shaken. Among us? I thought it was an outsider. Who the hell is it? Just come forward already. Some time passed, the uproar died down, but still no one stepped forward. Very good. As brave as expected, Hua Cheng said dryly. Men on the left, women on the right, divide into rows. Although the ghosts were puzzled, they didn't dare disobey Hua Cheng's command and immediately did as they were told, swiftly forming two large groups. The male ghosts squished on the left, their voices gruff and crude. The female ghosts were on the right, every one seductively alluring. Hua Cheng and Shilian shared a look, then went directly to the right side to inspect the line of female ghosts, their eyes sweeping past 10 women at a time. As he traveled down the line, Shilian saw a particular female ghost and paused in his tracks. She wore a long dress and had caked her face with so many layers of terrifyingly pale white powder that her real features were practically indiscernible. But that heavily painted face was still somewhat familiar. Miss Lan Chang? Shilian addressed her. The female ghost was taken aback, as if she were the one who had just seen a ghost. Sure enough, it was Lan Chang, the lady ghost who had clung to him on the streets of Ghost City, fought with the hog butcher, cackled at his declaration that he couldn't get erect, and consequently spread the rumor. After shaking off her shock, Lan Chang put her hands on her hips and raised her chin. What? You're the one who said you can't get it up. I didn't wrong you. You gonna seek revenge on me and tell Chengzi? Although the other female ghosts were all a little nervous, they still giggled softly at her comments. Hua Cheng walked over, and though his expression was unreadable, Lan Chang clearly still feared him somewhat. Her imperious attitude visibly deflated as he approached. The miss can talk however she wants about a joke like that. It's fine, Shilian gently assured her. However, that fetus spirit has harmed many. It reeks of blood. It shouldn't be left on the loose, so please return it. Even through the heavy powder on Lan Chang's face, it was clear that she had gone even paler. She backed away in a hurry, but since she was in a crowd of other ghosts, she didn't get very far before she was caught by a number of hands that thwarted any chance of escape. I don't know what you're saying, she cried in desperation. What fetus spirit? Please, return it, Shilian coaxed. Return what? I don't have it. You accusing me of stealing from Chengzi, but everyone knows there's no way anything can be taken from Chengzi's house. Whatever we take, we can't carry it out. The mob of ghosts agreed. Yeah, that was right, they all knew. Even the hog butcher grumbled as much. Paradise Manor only just caught fire. I haven't left the street all night, Lan Chang added. If I stole anything, I wouldn't have had time to hide it. As she spoke, she opened her arms, showing off her empty hands, and even lifted her dress to prove she wasn't hiding anything. But Shilian pointed out a key piece of evidence. Miss, the last time I saw you, it was freezing cold, yet you still dressed so very lightly. It's a beautiful day today, and you're wearing a long dress. Are you considering a change of style, or are you hiding something? The ghosts hadn't noticed this until he brought it up. Lan Chang usually dressed in an extremely revealing fashion. When Shilian said very lightly, he was being polite. While flouncing about the streets, Lan Chang usually left her chest almost fully exposed. However, today she wore a long dress that thoroughly covered her legs and waist. Exceedingly strange indeed. Besides, when Hua Cheng showed Shilian around Ghost City's streets earlier, they had been surrounded by that hollering crowd of ghosts who wanted to stuff them with delicacies. Yet they had seen neither hide nor hair of Lan Chang, who normally loved to strut about and cuss at everyone on the streets while passionately proclaiming to all in sight, "It's not me, he's the one who can't get it up." The crowd immediately grew restless. You didn't take what didn't belong to you. You only took what was once part of you, Shilian explained slowly. Right now, the fetus spirit is in your belly. If the fetus spirit thief had no other way to leave and wasn't lurking in the side chamber, that only left one explanation. The thief openly left through the front doors. Had the fetus spirit been carried to term, it would be a child, an independent person. However, the fetus spirit was forcibly removed from its mother's womb before it reached that point. Therefore, if its mother stuffed it back into her belly, then naturally it would qualify as something that belonged to her. Rather, it could be said that the fetus spirit was no different from a piece of her own flesh, a part of her body. After all, the blood bond between a mother and child was thick. Under the circumstances, they were but one body, so the mother could, of course, leave Paradise Manor openly and unharmed. Bro, pro-choice. Therefore, the one who stole the fetus spirit had to be a female ghost, and the mother of that child. Locking down Ghost City and calling forth all female ghosts who had been on the streets before and after the fire would therefore surely lead them to the culprit. Hua Cheng must have realized all this the moment they entered the side chamber. Shilian was quite sure of it. Suddenly, Lang Chang let out a great shout and seized her own belly in a mad fit. Miss? Shilian exclaimed. Lang Chang's face was ghostly pale, and she couldn't utter a single word. All of a sudden, it was as if something in her belly exploded. Her previously flat stomach swelled into an enormous ball, almost ripping her long dress apart as rolls of black smoke seeped out through the seams. The other female ghosts released their hold on her and slunk back while Lan Chang kept a death grip on her belly. She yelled in panic, "Stop this tantrum!" The fetus spirit in her womb was kicking up a storm. "Guga, stand back," Hua Cheng calmly said. "It's fine," Shilian exclaimed. Lang Chang fell heavily on her knees, her face twisted in agony. "Listen to me. Be good. Won't you just be good? Stop this tantrum." "Miss Lang Chang, let it out first," Shilian urged. What are you doing? Where are you going?
Hold on.
Okay.
Fucking kill someone else. There's a bicep. Oh my god. Google,
Whoa.
show me this guy, please. Oh, I'm fucking up.
What the hell are you doing? Whoa. It's being installed.
Dude. Come on, move. The trash can move. Ah. Dude.
Slay. Lots of storage room.
Yeah.
Are you gonna load it up now?
You can continue. Sorry, I'm like.
Are you loading it up with the goodies?
Yes.
Okay.
First order of business.
First thing first, I'm the realist.
First things first, I'm the realist.
Okay. Miss Lang Chang, let it out first, Shilian urged her. Lang Chang shook her head wildly. No, 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 no. I will keep him in my womb and raise him well for sure. He won't go out and harm anyone anymore. Changzhe, please, I beg you, don't take my son away. I've searched for him for centuries. Don't take my son. Don't hand him to those scoundrels in the heavens. As Shilian suspected, it seemed the ghosts in Ghost City were perfectly aware that he was from the heavenly realm. Lang Chang let out a shrill scream and rolled on the ground, hugging her belly as if it were no longer part of her body, and was instead its own live creature, shrinking at times, swelling at others, and twisting up, down, left, right. The black smoke grew thicker. The fetus spirit must have regained some strength after recovering in its mother's womb, and was ready to start trouble again. The crowd of female ghosts rallied again to hold Lang Chang down, yet they were powerless to do so. At the sight of this predicament, the male ghosts on the left yelled, "We got this!" and rushed forward to restrain her. It was complete chaos. Shilian clenched his fists. "Miss Lan Chang, the fetus in your belly is much more powerful than you," he yelled. "You clearly can't bear to hurt it, but it can hurt you. You can't do anything. It will suck you dry." "It will suck you dry sooner or later and break free. Let it out now." If Lan Chang refused to release the thing in her belly, soon she would be sucked dry and shredded to pieces by that savage spirit. This, of course, would leave Shilian no choice but to personally cut it out himself. Although it might be better than watching her be ripped apart by her own son, he really didn't want to do so unless there was truly no alternative. While he would prefer not to cut her open, he certainly couldn't let Hua Cheng do it for him. But Lang Chang was stubborn as a mule, and even as she wailed in agony, she refused to relinquish the fetus spirit. This couldn't go on for much longer, so Shilian decided to take action. Shilian set his jaw in determination. "Excuse my imposition!" However, when his hand reached for Fang Shin's hilt, Hua Cheng immediately held him back. "No need," he said darkly. A flash of golden light suddenly erupted from the center of Lang Chang's belly, its rays blinding the ghostly crowd. They yelped loudly, fleeing to make room. What the shit? Shilian focused his eyes. When that golden light died down, the fetus spirit that had been so desperate to burst out seemed now to be somewhat fettered, and Lang Cheng's belly had flattened to its normal state. The thing holding it back was a belt on her waist. At first glance, that belt looked quite ordinary, but when Shilian took a good look, he was astonished. Why would you have something like this on you? Even with its color faded from washing, Shilian could tell that the belt was an item of heavenly essence. Many ingenious spiritual weapons of the heavens only revealed their phenomenal abilities when protecting their masters in dire circumstances. Even though the embroidered patterns on the belt were heavily worn and damaged, Shilian was certain that it was an item only heavenly officials could possess, a golden belt. And by the look of its design, the belt had belonged to a heavenly official of the upper court. Golden belts were considered a sophisticated gift in the heavenly realm, and the act of gifting one carried a special meaning. If a male official were to gift this belt to another, it was a gesture to signify affection, and the nature of that affection was evident. One could well imagine that something like a golden belt would not be so easily given away, and also not so easily lost. Shilian gaped. Miss, could your child be... He trailed off as he suddenly remembered where he was. Regardless of whether this was the lair of all evil, to inquire after the details of a woman's personal affairs in public was far from courteous. He immediately cut off. No! Lan Chang instantly cried in response. I haven't even said anything. What are you saying no to? Shilian wondered. He instead asked, Did you depend on this golden belt to sustain yourself throughout the past 700 or 800 years? The crowd of female ghosts were stunned to hear this. Holy shit, Lang Chang, you're that old? Didn't you always say you were only 300-something? No, she even said she was 200 once. You're falsifying your records. The fetus spirit had about 700 or 800 years of cultivation, so its mother would of course be around the same age. However, Lang Chang didn't possess a grudge of equal weight. The golden belt's immense spiritual powers had doubtless been instrumental in enabling her to stay in the corporeal world as an ordinary ghost for so long. If the father of that fetus spirit was a heavenly official, then the degree of its savagery made sense. A heavenly official having an affair with a mortal woman. Whether he'd ended up abandoning or neglecting her, she had met a violent end with her baby forcibly torn from her womb. Now both mother and son were of the ghost realm, and the fetus had likely murdered countless others. No matter what, this case was no less serious than the case of Xuanji. It even seemed rather similar on the surface, which made it easy to determine how best to handle it. Shilian looked to Hua Cheng. San Lang, this miss... No need to say more, Hua Cheng said. Do what you must. You needn't ask me. Shilian answered softly. Upon receiving permission, he turned to Lang Cheng. All the ghosts were demanding more gossip. Lang Cheng, who's your baby's dad? What an outrage. Did he only care enough to kill it, but not bury it? Cared to knock you up, but not raise the kid? Just who is it? You gotta avenge yourself. Lang Cheng clenched her teeth and stared hard at Shilian. Who else could it be? She didn't utter the name, but Shilian understood. Why don't you come back to the heavenly court with me? No! Lang Cheng immediately shouted. Of course, it was useless for her to object. Willing or not, Shilian had to take her away, and he hardened his expression. This fetus spirit is exceedingly violent. Who knows how much blood is on its hands? The case has become too convoluted for you to continue to shield it. This matter must be confronted and reported to the heavenly court, Shilian said solemnly. If that heavenly official is an honest one, or if there was some kind of misunderstanding between you, then we can have you and your child recognized and deal with the matter of its crimes after. If that heavenly official has wronged you or worse, then there's even more reason to demand justice. No matter what, the fetus spirit is your son, but also his son. How can anyone else interfere if the father is ignorant of this affair? The ghosts thought his speech made sense. Also, if they let Lang Cheng haul her son up to cause a riot in the heavens, how exciting would that be? The bigger the chaos, the better. So they urged her. Yeah, Lang Cheng, what are you afraid of? Go settle your score with that guy. If he won't recognize you, we'll burn down his temples. Shilian said to Hua Cheng, I will take a trip to the upper court this instant and report this case. While Lang Cheng protested, she knew she couldn't stop him. After snapping out of her shock, she suddenly knelt down and prostrated before Hua Cheng. Chengzi, thank you for your kindness and grace in sheltering me. Shilian was taken aback. It was out of desperation that Lung Cheng set fire to Paradise Manor and broke the rules of Ghost City, she continued. I am ever so sorry. Pray Chengzi will not hold it against me. She had always been a sauntering shrew, but when she spoke now, it was like she was a different person. Many of those familiar with her watched in shock, but Hua Cheng appeared unstirred, and he turned to Shilian. Giga stopped by, in too much of a hurry. I'll wait for you to come down again and host you properly next time. Shilian nodded, then took Lung Cheng and rushed straight to the heavens. Hold on, I need to get a drink.
Oh, my toe.
My voice. I need water.
Okay, I'm going on my desktop now. Give me a second. Oh my god.
Hello. We're about to get to a great scene. I don't know if it's in this chapter, though, so we'll see.
Whoa, what?
Hello?
I didn't hear anything you just said.
We're about to get to a really good scene, but I don't know if it's in this chapter, but so we'll see. I think the chapter's almost over. Yeah. Guga stopped by in too much of a hurry. I'll wait for you to come down again and host you properly next time. Shilian nodded, then took Lung Cheng and rushed straight to the heavens. As he walked down the main streets of the heavenly capital, he announced in the spiritual communication ray, everyone, please make your way to the Palace of Divine Might. There is a matter that requires conference. He exited the array as soon as he was done, and didn't waste any time bringing Lung Cheng to the Palace of Divine Might. Lung Cheng was but an ordinary ghost, and couldn't enter the Golden Palace, so Shilian waited outside with her until Junwu himself arrived and granted permission for Lung Cheng to enter. It didn't take long for the heavenly officials, who were currently present in the heavenly capital, to make their way to the hall, where they were met with the bewildering sight of a crude female ghost slathered in heavy makeup. She stood in stark contrast to the transcendence of the heavenly court. A black-clad heavenly official strolled in, and he paused for a moment when he saw what was in the center of the hall. This was Mu Qing. Lung Cheng also glanced at him and immediately lowered her head, her lips quivering. Mu Qing showed no further reaction and only asked impassively, Your Highness, who is that woman? At this address, Lung Cheng's face changed. She looked at Shilian as if she were recalling something that she wasn't entirely sure of. Just then, both the Wind and Water Masters arrived. The pair of brothers looked quite similar to each other, with their matching fans and white robes gently fluttering. They painted a beautiful picture. Shi Qingxuan fanned himself as he spoke. Yeah, Temple Master, why did you bring a lady ghost here today? Shilian was puzzled. Temple Master? What Temple Master? Of Puchi Shrine? Why the sudden address? Then he realized Shi Qingxuan probably meant Master of Thousand Lights Temple. He didn't know how to acknowledge the title, and could only pretend he hadn't heard it, but Shi Qingxuan was cheerful as he greeted everyone around him, then turned to the ghost. Huh? The ghost Shijie has something in her belly? Why do I have the feeling that it's... He wondered aloud as he approached, looking like he wanted to touch her. Shi Wudu snapped his fan shut. Qingxuan! Shi Qingxuan's hand instantly shrank back, and he tried to justify himself. I just thought there was an aura of evil and wanted to see if there was something dangerous. Shi Wudu continued to scold him. You're a man and a heavenly official. This is the Palace of Divine Might. How could you do something so unmannerly? No, don't turn into a woman either. Even in a woman's form, it is equally disgraceful. Change back right this instant. Ling Wen shook his head. He folded a stack of documents and reports under his arm and approached to place his hand on Lung Cheng's belly. After a moment, he dropped his hand and hummed. What a vicious fetus spirit. How many hundreds of years old? 700 or 800, Shulian answered. He gave an account of the 2 times he had met the fetus spirit, and how the fetus spirit's attack on a pregnant woman led him to find the female ghost Lan Chang. He didn't bring up the details of Hua Cheng and Ghost City, and Lan Chang herself naturally remained quiet on the subject. At the end, Julian concluded, and that's how it came to be. I don't know if that heavenly official is still in this world, or still working with us, nor whether there is some misunderstanding in all of this, nor whether he knew. That's why I brought this miss here. Function knitted his brows. If there wasn't a misunderstanding, and he knew about the mother and the child, then it's simply irresponsible of him to leave them like that without a word. Pei Ming crossed his arms and commented leisurely. I completely agree with General Nanyang. This is far too irresponsible. Don't know which heavenly colleague this discarded baggage belongs to, but if he's on duty, best come forward.
That's crazy.
As he finished, he felt countless eyes on him. Silence had descended upon the Palace of Divine Might. A moment later, Pei Ming wondered out loud, Are you all having some sort of misunderstanding about me? Shi Qingxuan stopped fanning his fan. I don't think it's a misunderstanding, more like we know you too well. Pei Ming immediately defended himself. It wasn't me. Everyone laughed dryly, and even Shi Wudu and Ling Wen looked unconvinced by his denial. Pei Ming grew frustrated, and he supported his temple with his hand as he explained earnestly, Well, I've had some flings with women of the ghost realm before, but I really don't recognize this one. If those words of his were to be taken seriously, they were believable. How could the man himself not know with whom he shared a past? Many criticized Pei Ming's promiscuity, but he had never denied any affairs and never denounced anything he'd done. It wasn't like he couldn't afford it. Unless they behaved like Xuanji, women who had affairs with him were lavished with wealth and sweetness. They were all guaranteed a lifetime of riches and care until they no longer wanted to associate with him. If Lan Chang truly had a fleeting affair with Pei Ming while she was alive, she shouldn't have suffered having her womb ripped open and her son stolen from her, or his becoming a vicious ghost. Besides, Pei Ming had high standards when it came to women. He only dallied with those of extraordinary appearance, and he also preferred beauties with a natural look. As everyone in the hall could see, Lan Chang wore such a heavy layer of makeup that her real features were indiscernible, and her general looks, class, and behavior were a far cry from the lovers Pei Ming usually chose. So when he claimed he wasn't to blame, everyone silently somewhat believed him, except it was only silently, and somewhat. When an occasion to see General Pei get checkmated presented itself, how could they not indulge in the fun? And so they stood by and watched him argue with smiles on their faces. Whether any member of the crowd was convinced depended entirely on their current mood. At first, what is he doing?
He's going for the skull.
The skull. At first, Shulian also thought the father was more than likely Pei Ming. He had a track record after all. But as he studied Pei Ming's expression, Shulian grew less certain. Pei Ming didn't seem to be lying. He recalled Hua Cheng saying that there was nothing to fear, as Pei Ming wasn't a shady fellow, or something along those lines. After some contemplation, Shulian continued, Miss Lang Cheng's originally responded ambiguously, asking who else could it be, so I assumed. But since General Pei denies such claims, maybe there's been some misunderstanding. Besides, it can't be the same person every time, so why don't we ask around? Unexpectedly, Lang Cheng spoke up. It's not him. Shulian was taken aback and turned to her. It's not him, Lang Cheng repeated. Ling Wen said coolly, What, so it's not? Shi Wudu also politely said, So it actually isn't. Pei Ming turned to Shi Wudu and Ling Wen. I already said it wasn't. The two of you are adding insult to injury. Just you wait. The heavenly officials were briefly disappointed, but then they grew even more excited. After all, Pei Ming was always the one generating wanton scandals. If it were him, this would be nothing new. But if he wasn't to blame, that meant there was likely another male official, present or not, who had instigated a new wave of excitement. How could they not be thrilled? What the fuck is happening to you?
I keep dropping this goddamn skull. There's no way for her to fucking hold it.
I see her.
Her fucking shoes are ugly as hell.
Oh, okay. I think she looks fine.
Whatever, man. Whatever, man.
How could they not be thrilled? Earlier in Ghost City, Lung Chung had hinted that the man in question was Pei Ming, but now she denied it. Shulian felt something was amiss, but he made no effort to express his suspicion. Then who is it? He inquired. Lung Chung stared squarely at him, her eyes unmoving. You. Shulian thought she wasn't finished. What about me? I said the man is you, Lung Chung declared. That's where the chapter ends. So she's accusing Shulian of being the baby daddy.
What the fuck episode of Murray is this?
I know, right? It's crazy.
The hell? Damn. Okay. Alright. Sure. Sure, bud.
Did you want to Overwatch or something?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm